things going on. The paranormies are unpredictable, but they have promised that they will behave. They've been on YouTube before, but their career was very short. So it's they're a guest in my house right now, so I have assurances that this is going to be as sanitized as possible. Although it does look like YouTube is pretty much allowing it's all holds barred now. I mean, I don't know why they've changed so much in the last 6 months, but they have, no doubt.
Right. I remember Martin was talking about that when we had both of you guys on. He was talking about how YouTube was getting more relaxed. And I was like, I don't see it. And anytime anybody says anything like we did, and it's like 1, 2, 3 strikes. We got 3 strikes in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We still can't talk about the tiny mustache guy.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
And all that. Yeah, I agree. But many of the things that people were getting booted for 2 years ago, talking about certain narratives in the medical fields and all that, are now openly talking about it like it's nothing on YouTube. But you're right. The subject matter you guys are covering is still a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can't talk about YouTube ownership family. That's over with.
And the future ownership of TikTok. Apparently.
Yeah. That's all that's happening. There's no doubt.
Oh my goodness, there's so much stuff that's going on around with just the amount of censorship and uncensorship and community notes on Twitter and Elon's retweeting this guy and that guy. Oh my God, so based. And then Elon gets paraded around, because he's still a puppet at the end of the day.
Right. We did a huge mail out. Dawn's telling the community in the chat we did a huge mail out today. So yeah, because since she's been out of the hospital 2 weeks ago, we Big John came over here and it literally took all day long to get everybody's packages out. So it's
oh man.
We're gonna go into technolithic culture and stuff. I'm gonna answer a bunch of you guys' questions that I know you've prepared. I said, but before we get into that, I'm finding more and more that if you really want to get your finger on the pulse of what's going on, or even more accurate, what people believe is going on, right now, Twitter's where it's at. I'm all over X. I'm all over Twitter. I'm watching all kinds of things. There are all kinds of little personality wars and people going to exposing infrastructure and exposing these. Man, it's crazy what is going on and how the entire worldwide Jewish community is under multi-tiered assault right now. I am not saying that they're innocent. I am not saying they're guilty. I am merely stating an objective fact that across the whole board, they're taking hits right now everywhere. But I don't know if you guys have been following all this dialogue and narrative that's been going on, but it's just crazy.
We're on here on X. I don't have an account.
You don't have an account? We have an account on X. We just cracked 1,000 followers for the first time in a very long time. We got our account back. I had to petition Lone Scum to get it back. But there is a massive amount of what they call noticing going on right now. That, like you said, the Jewish community in general, we did the stream about a month ago on the shul is in your walls. There were the tunnels in Brooklyn. Then there was the finding out that literally every member of Biden's cabinet is of the same grouping, right. And like all the things that are going on, like there's a lot. The ADL has come under fire. You've got Rabbi Shmuley going toe to toe with Candace Owens right now. You've got there's another fight I didn't expect was Ben Shapiro and Jake Shields. That's one of the best Twitter fights I've seen in a long time. Ben Shapiro's getting wrecked, by the way. But they're saying anti-Semitism is on the rise. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. They're crying about all this anti-Semitism. But if you read like the exchange between like Rabbi Shmuley and Candace Owens, you'll see that it's literally the phrase. I believe it goes something like "crying out as they strike you."
Oh yeah. There's no doubt. I mean.
Yeah, and again, they're not innocent. They're not. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's guilty. I'm just saying, like, if you look at what's going on, like, holy schmoly.
Yeah, well, I'm not really. Hey, Hollis, can you hear us?
Oh, hopefully Hollis got his audio fixed.
provides that curved almond eye. No, we just slit them out. We just give them 2 slits. So we're guilty of doing the exact same thing they do, over accentuating a physical trait. We give them slits for eyes, they give us round eyes. But these were bearded Caucasians who were very tall, and they had technology, and they had an infrastructure that was intact. And the Sumerians themselves racially separated themselves in their literature. They prided themselves on being the black-headed people. It's like Native American Indians. It would be long jet black hair, raven black eyes, and very smooth skin, because what separated them chiefly was not just the height and skin tone and jet black hair, but it was also the fact that the indigenous populations, just like in Egypt, could not grow a beard. They couldn't grow a beard. So even after the Anuna departed, even the pharaohs who wanted to show that they had the authority of the gods would always have a wooden beard, because even the pharaohs couldn't grow facial hair. So in China, they were called dragon-faced. The reason they were called dragon-faced is because they had a beard. Chinese dragons are the only dragons in all the world that have these long, elaborate beards. This is all it was. This is the dragon kings of ancient China, are no different than the Anunnaki kings of ancient Sumer. Not only that, but chronologically they perfectly match. Now, I've showed this in some of my presentations, but the Anuna were later, only after the cataclysm, called Anunnaki, later to be called Anunnaki. This was centuries after they were gone. Now they've been turned into gods, when earlier they were just technologically advanced humans. Now they've become the whole object of worship and religion. So that's the main takeaway here. After the cataclysm, though, they're no longer called Anuna where they're at. They're in a totally separate, different area of the world from the Near East. Now they are the Amuru. When they come back into the area as the Amorites, it was during the fifth dynasty of Babylon, and it was an absolute takeover without a military fight. These Amuru were so advanced and so feared because of their intelligence, and their infrastructure was just so perfect and intact. When they came in, they established all these states, starting with Mari and Mitanni. The Hittite Hattusis, and they came in during the reign of Amraphel of the 5th dynasty of Babylon, and they changed his name to Hammurabi of the 5th deal. And he, although he wasn't Amorite, he is the first king of the Amorite dynasty. They literally let him stay on the throne, but they took over. And all the Near Eastern scholars are in agreement. When the Amuru appeared in the Near East, they literally rewrote all the libraries. All these, they start Amorite syllabaries were published, and the ancient Jewish people hated these people. All throughout the Old Testament and all throughout the rabbinical writings, you will find the Amuru, which are just simplified as Amorites. You will find them demonized everywhere. But the truth of the matter is, these were the people that had the infrastructure, all the amenities, all the rights, privileges, and immunities. I'm going to tell you now, it's going to offend a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you exactly the situation was in the ancient world after the cataclysm. We literally have an American population that has lost their infrastructure in a geographical area far away, now moving in and muscling their way into an area where they are unopposed, because the locals don't have the technology to deal with the incursions of more and more people. What I am describing about Sumer, Akkad, Elam, Mohenjo-Daro, the whole area, what I am describing basically is if 30 years from now, North America is wiped off the map, and suddenly cruise ships, oil tankers, aircraft carriers, Los Angeles class and Ohio class nuclear submarines show up at the Tigris-Euphrates basin, and all of a sudden all these troop support ships, frigates, private yachts, Cessnas that are coming off of all these aircraft carriers, and all of a sudden people from the United States just take over Iraq. bringing in all these troops, special forces, good old boys with their shotguns and their sons, and women carrying all the stuff of the households and protecting the kids, and a huge mass migration of people bringing their weapons that the locals are unfamiliar with, overwhelming technology, just a huge mass. This is exactly what I'm describing. This is what happened in about 19th century BC. This is what rewrote the histories of the ancient world.
And they've been mad at these people ever since.
They've been pissed off ever since, and this is why we literally have what is unfolded today.
Right.
I'm telling you now. I'm not going to name them. We already know who we're talking about. But right now, there is a massive info war, and the target is basically white people.
Yep.
The target is white people, and it's been going on undercover for about 80 years, real strong. But only in the last 5 or 6 years has most of the population started waking up that there is this huge war against them, and it's coming from multiple fronts, but it's all financed by the same people.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Did you remember that commercial for the assisted suicide in Canada? Like
Maids.
maybe. Yeah. And
it's one of my favorite things. It's maids. Like maids are like made to clean your house. You know, they might run around with a French skirt. You know, maids, right? No, medical assistance in death.
Well, yeah. In Canada, it's illegal to have like only white people in commercials or on TV programs, except for on the commercial for assisted suicide. So that's kind of a funny one.
Yeah, it's interesting times we live in, that's for sure. It's going to be a very interesting year. I'm just I'm not a prepper. I'm not a prepper. But I do agree with that each individual's soul needs to be aware of their environment and the things that are going on in their environment. And it may not be true next year. It may not be true the years after that. But this year is a year that a lot of people, especially in Western countries, you need to keep some extra food and extra water available right now, because there's going to be a lot of attacks against infrastructure, because it all goes back to November of 2023. That right there is an event that is going to be the catalyst for a bunch of retribution that happens everywhere, even if it's not real.
Right.
Even if it's not real, because there's a fall guy here. And even if they're not even involved, they're going to be blamed for all these attacks, because the people that are running the show literally need an indignant and enraged America. They need Americans to be pissed and enraged, because what they're going to do is create basically a situation where the West is not going to resist when all the leaders say, okay, check it out. Let's get these armies together, get these invasion forces together. Let's go straight to the Middle East and retaliate for all this bullshit they just did. And it's a coup de grace, because the very people who orchestrated all this want that to happen. You already know. I'm not going to go into detail.
Right, but here's the thing about getting the United States pissed off is everybody's on fucking SSRIs. You know what I mean? Everybody's got DoorDash and SSRIs and weed delivery to their house, high THC content weed delivery directly to their house.
Yeah.
That
was funny. In Canada, they legalized weed like right before COVID. Basically, it was a real easy way to get people to
all the weed. Now, I'm not anti-weed. Everybody knows I'm not anti-weed. However, like I know when I'm like, oh, it's like, look, this is a very nice ice cream sundae you're giving me, and I know at the bottom there's poison. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I know what you guys are doing, but it's this, it's the thing. Like, pissing off America is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to piss off the average American, because the average American is fat, happy, and lazy. Well, I don't know about happy now, because
but this isn't an ordinary event. This is an event that will actually trigger the fundamentalists, the Christian fundamentalists here in the United States. And that's a hell of a group. I'm talking about. That's a hell of a.
I'm related. I'm highly related to that group. My entire family is like strongly connected in that facility, those facilities. And I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to see. That is something I'm gonna have to see for myself. Like, I'm gonna be a doubting Thomas. I am Johnny Monoxide. I literally question every single thing. Grognak, do I not?
Did you give your
Birds aren't real, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, well, no, I mean, I have chickens, obviously. I have chickens and the geese, and we have, birds are real to a point, but like, I think the birds not real thing, I think the birds not real meme was seeded so that they could do the bird drone thing that they're doing now, because they actually have bird drones that are actually like taxidermied birds that have drones in them. I think that was all kind of part of it, because yes, they do stupid shit like that. The CIA, the FBI, whoever you want to call them, they do stuff like that. They put memes out there. Obviously, they're all over the internet. Like half of your internet friends are probably FBI agents or CIA agents or Mossad or what is it, 8202, the Mossad internet group, right? Whatever. Anyways, nobody knows what I'm talking about. But yes, they put the memes out there for us to no, but birds are actually real, Grognak. Birds are actually real. You eat chicken, dude. Chicken is the bird. Stop it.
Yeah. Oh man, I love chicken. I couldn't survive without it.
Bees have like, how thin are their wings, right? How small are they compared to the body size? Where like hummingbird, their wings are actually like bird. I don't know. And birds are hollow, like and not to mention they're not real, right?
I got some hens here, and man, those things they're just egg laying machines. They got
them today. I know I saw the video. Did you check your hens to make sure they're not CIA machines? I saw that video too.
Oh no, I'm way ahead of the game on that one. I checked them all. Well, we do a monthly check on the hens. Yeah.
Make sure they're not recording our conversations or anything.
Yeah, I caught like 20 of them. They're gone. I fed them to the dog. So now I got to check the dog.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And there was something I wanted to ask about an hour ago, and I totally forgot. Jason, you did one of your things where like I need to take notes to your stuff, but I can't.
Well, I'm over here trying to wrap my mind around volcanoes and radium.
Yeah, man. It makes sense to me that with the radiation that you were talking about, the ambient radiation, and the fact that there is this the radium theory going on, and radiation. I mean, it makes complete sense, you know. And that if these volcanoes are some sort of just chemical reaction, again, like Hollis was saying, they're just isotopes, you know, creating different compounds that react with each other and apparently radioactively.
Right.
Yeah, it speaks to the increase in the Schumann resonance too that we've been seeing. So like this is a real hot one here. Well, like figuratively or whatever. But
used to drive down there with my mum. Okay. Right. Sorry?
canopy, right? There was a vapor canopy going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could you comment on like maybe some of these crazy ass medieval torture devices were like the only way that they could like harm or destroy some of these kind of like superhero people that might have been locked out of the historical record? So
yeah, well, okay, let me give some context to my listeners for who don't know. Okay, guys, I have often asserted that during the vapor canopy, it's very hard for people to die. Under perfect, pristine vapor canopy conditions, the human avatar is operating phenomenally, healing absolutely fast because of the oxygen, the diet, everything, the atmospheric pressure. You heal so fast. This is why the story of Cain and Abel, the very first murder, was very special to the ancient world, but today it doesn't mean nothing to us. People get killed every single day. But in that story, it had a particular significance that's being overlooked. And that significance is under the vapor canopy, if you kill somebody, you had to work for it. It's not an accident. You had to really work for, because they're already healing as fast as you hurt them. So this is exemplified in the book of Revelation. In the book of Revelation, outside the context of vapor canopy, much of the book of Revelation doesn't make sense. And the book of Revelation is cross-referenced with 1st and 2nd Esdras, which are both highly prophetic and explain the changes in the human body that are going to occur during the tribulation period. So the vapor canopy is explained with the return of the Phoenix in 2040, the sixth seal. But even after that, everything is reduced by a third. The sun, the moon, the stars, the day, the night. Vapor canopy has reduced everything. But it also states in the tribulation record of the book of Revelation that people will seek death and not find it. So we have these. This is what I'm just providing context to what he's referring to, and what he's referring to is in the year 522 AD. It is the only year in human history the Nemesis X object and the Phoenix phenomenon occurred in the same year. Nemesis X is on its own chronology of 792 years. Its next appearance is in 2046. Phoenix is on its own chronology of every 138 years, but every 552 years, it's a big one. Well, 552 AD, the Roman Catholic Church, after everything was done and said, after 25 years, the Roman Catholic Church was able to repackage everything that happened. But this is what happened. The Phoenix phenomenon appeared, volcanoes went off all over the world, and it started what is known in the historical record as the Justinian darkness. 25 years of tsunamis, earthquakes, things falling out of the sky, the UK getting wiped out, half of North America getting wiped out, whole populations coming up vanishing. Some people believe the vanishings happened by the ground shaking so much, whole populations in their cities just sank into the ground like subsidence. So 522 is terrible. And we have many references as to what happened in the historical record. And remember, if something is true somewhere, it is probably true everywhere. And the reason I'm saying that is that for every historical reference that we find of something that is particularly heinous like this, you can imagine how many references didn't make it to the present, how many other texts that are lost that we don't have access to. This was terrible. It was described throughout the entire world. 522 was a 522, 523, 524. Sky dragons appeared in the sky. All this is described. I've got a whole list of stuff on my channel describing and with all the sources of what happened. Vapor canopy came back, but it was only here for 25 years. Exact blueprint for what happened on that same timeline, because 552 years before that was 31 BC, when the Americas were all destroyed during the Battle of Actium, when a great red sky dragon appeared over Egypt, and there was all kinds of fallout. It was the worst earthquake that ever afflicted Olympia.
Everybody is discovering that Yahweh is this desert demon, of the pillar of smoke, pillar of fire. Both of those things, neither of those things sound like a just and loving God, that would require the sacrifice of babies and foreskins and all that kind of stuff. But it seems that more and more people are starting to discover this. It's kind of interesting, and that it's being put out there as much as it is, especially considering that there's supposed to be this huge Christian nationalism uprising in the United States as well.
Oh, I predicted that 3 years ago.
I know.
I said 3 years ago, you guys are going to start seeing all kinds of signs of Puritanism coming out. You're going to see that they're going to start knocking out all these girls doing these online gigs, making money on OnlyFans. They're going to start attacking that. They're going to start taking away all these rights, privileges, immunities that we had under more liberal governments. People talk bad about liberals and all that, and I really don't like liberal philosophy or politics at all. But I do understand the freedoms that you have under that, as opposed to a Christian Puritanism that will set in and contaminate government to the point where people are now legislating that which was supposed to be spiritual. And this is the type of government we're going to real fast in the United States. And I don't think people are seeing this is a pendulum. And when the pendulum swings and starts gaining momentum, like I'll give you, Pornhub just got taken down in Texas. No one saw that coming. I've been seeing it all over Twitter. Everybody's like, wow, man, it's the state of Texas passed laws against pornography. And I agree with what they're attacking, because they're saying Pornhub is not keeping minors off their platform or whatever. I get it, but this is how it starts. Talking about removing TikTok. This is how it starts. Censorship always starts with what sounds reasonable, but it always ends up with chopping people's heads off because they don't believe what you believe. Christianity has a terrible track record of just killing whole villages, in killing and in eradicating whole cultures that don't adopt the status quo. The reason we can't ask the Cathars, the reason we can't ask the students of the Gnosis, the reason we can't even ask the Waldenses about what really happened when the Roman Catholics went in there and killed every man, woman, and child to a T is because they're all dead. Simple as that. There's no way to talk to even their descendants. They were killed to a man because they simply believed that Jesus Christ was a spiritual phenomenon, a spiritual message to spiritual beings trapped in a physical world ruled by the devil. That's all they believed. They believed that true spirit would send nothing but spirit to reveal things that were spiritual to spiritual beings who just happened to be in a physical prison underneath a false god temporarily. That's all they believe. This is the core fundamental of the Gnosis. And all these people were exterminated because that's what they believed. So you can see, I mean, we already know, I mean, I don't want to get real dark here. I've never discussed it with my own community, but we already know that FEMA actually purchased tens of thousands of guillotines. Why did you have a company even make guillotines?
Wait a minute. Guillotines?
Yeah.
I've heard about, now I've seen the truckloads of what do you call it? The plastic coffins. You know, I've seen all that stuff. I've seen the Walmarts turned in, you know, they're going to turn Walmarts into FEMA camps and all that stuff. I did not know that they had purchased guillotines. I know that the FDA purchased like 1.5 billion rounds of 5.56 and 9mm. Like, why does the FDA need bullets?
Yeah. Well, that was to keep people from actually tracing that most of those weapons caches are all spread throughout the United States, waiting for these migrants to get their Batman signal. That's what's going down this year.
Oh, definitely does. Does my audio sound any different? I think I figured out my problem.
You sound pretty good. You're clear.
Okay.
But if I ever have audio problems, my community is pretty fast about saying something. So going back to Grognak's the original question about names of Egypt, all right, we do have an interesting reference in the book of Jasher, which has the most astounding chronological material I've ever seen. It's many people have studied Jasher. The book of Jasher has gotten a bad name because in Bristol, England in 1750 something, a forgery of Jasher was specifically published in Bristol and released to the public. And it did exactly what it was intended to do, which was get it academically condemned. It wasn't the original book of Jasher. This version had Jasher as being one of the judges of ancient Israel during the period of the judges. It was a total work of fiction. The dude sold out. He got rich writing this fake deal because rumors from the Middle East had been circulating, and they reached England about a copy of the book of Jasher that was discovered in the archives of some underground library in Gonza, Persia. And before the actual manuscript could make it to London, fake versions were published in Bristol. And ever since then, academia has had a reason to dismiss it. But the actual real versions have been found, and one of them was studied by Albinus Alcuin in 800 AD. And this was a totally different manuscript, but it mirrors the other one found in Gonza of Persia. This book is probably only like 19, 20 centuries old. It might not even be that old. But what I found fascinating about it is that many of the dates that are provided in that book perfectly align with so many dates that secular dates that were put out by other cultures, other races at different time periods, biblical chronologists, secular chronologists. And what I found even most fascinating is two epic disasters that are recorded in the book of Jasher are perfectly dated on the 138-year Phoenix phenomenon deal, and both of them involve earthquakes and the darkening of the sun. That's beyond coincidence for me.
Something about the AI voices chat. They're, oh my god, they're a little bit jarring on the ears, like kind of headache inducing.
I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind: the rise of VTubers. Specifically, I want to talk about a VTuber named Pippa Pipkin. Now, I know what some of you might be.
I made it on Tucker Carlson show. Oh my god,
Tucker, you're a serious journalist. Why are you wasting your time talking about some cartoon character on the internet? Well, the truth is, Pippa Pipkin is more than just a cartoon character. I love her, and I am going to kill ghost politics and make her my wife. So when I say that I love Pippa Pipkin, I don't
fan, Tucker Carlson,
mean it in a frivolous or lighthearted way. I love her long toes and her nice hands. Also, I encourage all Americans to subscribe to Pipkin Pippa, because if I don't get to see those pippets, I'm going to do unspeakable things to a Walmart. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ.
And I promise
no
I'll
Tucker
make it
got so based, I know.
Giveaways later, heart.
Where people pay to stay. It's a good location. That one's cute. It's very white. A white coloured one. Pure coloured. That one's very white as well. Those have already been spray painted. They spray painted it. Very cute. Yeah, I think it was worth coming down here to see what was down here.